Okay, hello. Seeing as last videos about AI has had good reception, I decided to make a dedicated tutorial to setting up ComfyUI and generating images for anime, right? Anime style images, because that's kind of what I used before. So we're gonna go through the setup, finding models, and then the prompt engineering. So first, some announcements that I want to make first before starting the YouTube video. Number one, the microphone will be changed very soon. I recently purchased the Fine A8 microphone. I heard on TikTok it's a really good microphone for a really budget price. So hopefully that will be arriving very soon, and the microphone audio will sound less shitty. It will sound much better. And the second, the Go series isn't over. Go series episode 6 will be coming out very soon. I just need to make the video for it. I've already done the programming part of it. So first, what are some prerequisites? What are some requirements for doing this? Number one is your graphics card. So here on the list, you can see the different tiers. So here will be the S tier, A tier, and then B tier, or C tier actually. And then these are actually taken off directly off of ComfyUI's GitHub wiki page, which I will link in the description if you want more details. But generally speaking, what you want is a NVIDIA card with architecture Maxwell or newer, so that's the GTX 9000 and up. But they suggest a 30 series, so that would be the 3060, 3070, 3080, 3090, or newer, with a decent amount of VRAM. Now again, for my setup, referring back to my previous video, I only have a 2070, and that still has been pretty sufficient for me. B tier. So you're gonna run into a couple issues, but you need the AMD ROCm supported GPU. And the selection for that, which I'll also link, the Wikipedia page too, it lacks, very few GPUs actually support AMD ROCm. And not to mention, which I'll explain in the next slide, the operating system requirements of ROCm. And then C tier, like things you don't really want are Intel or Apple Silicon, because those two aren't really well developed for PyTorch, which is what ComfyUI runs under the hood. It's powered by PyTorch. So you really want to look for the NVIDIA Maxwell or newer, and also taking advice from my previous video, actually ignoring the advice, they would suggest, ComfyUI suggests that you stick with the gaming cards. So that would be the GTX or RTX series, instead of going for more like industrial grades, so like the like Tesla or P4, because although those have high VRAM, their inference and performance is very low, as well as they don't support they either don't support or they aren't able to do floating point calculations very fast, especially floating point 32, which is what the gaming cards can do very fast. But then second, operating system requirements, it's going to be Linux. Although, according to ComfyUI, it can be run on Windows, I would suggest that you do it on Linux, and that's what this tutorial is going to do it on. And then likely you want a Debian-based distro, because again, that's where, like I explained in my previous video, that's where all the AI tools and AI systems are. Most of them are developed for a Debian-based distro, so typically like Ubuntu server or Ubuntu. You can run this on a desktop environment, by the way. It does not have to be the server variant, so you can run that on a Ubuntu desktop or like Fedora desktop. But for mine and for the setup, it will be in Fedora server. But it should be noted that the differences in them won't be that strong or heady. All right, now we're actually going to the actual setup. Okay, so here I am in my terminal right now. To be specific, this is my SSH connection into my local computer. But it will basically be the same as if you were using the terminal from the actual desktop interface. So first, you notice this parentheses base, close parentheses. This is miniconda. It won't come default, but I would suggest that you get miniconda because it allows you to manage virtual environments for Python. And the benefit of virtual environments is that your packages and versions for those packages can be specific per project. So you don't have to run into those dependency conflicts where, for example, one requires a newer version of Python, while the other requires an older version, or packages, they require 2 different versions, etc., etc. Now, I would like to note that this isn't required per se, but it's strongly encouraged to get anacondas or miniconda. Miniconda and anaconda are kind of basically the exact same thing. So first you want to run this command. So hold on. So here is the command, and I will link the documentation. This one's kind of out of the scope of this video, but it's a really easy setup. So this will make a directory in the home folder under miniconda, and it's going to download the installer script and output it in that folder. And this is going to run it, and then it's going to remove the script after. And I will have this linked in the description, the documentation for miniconda. So if I run it, thankfully I have pretty fast internet when it comes to downloading stuff. So it's going to download the script into my local folder right here under miniconda, and then once it's done, it's going to run it. Now this one should say something along the lines of I already have it, because I already have it obviously right here. So installation is finished, and then this is the command that you need to run to activate it in your current shell, which is how you get that. And then in order for it to start up every single time, basically start up every single time you boot your terminal, you need to run this command, which will change your different your home folders, so your bash rc or your zish rc if you're using zish, or if you're using fish. But because I already have this, it doesn't change anything. Now we can run the conda command, and there's a bunch of commands here. So now I would suggest that you create a virtual environment for ComfyUI. I already have one, which is this name, but for this for the tutorial, we will be starting as if it doesn't even matter. So conda activate is how you enter a virtual environment, and then conda deactivate is how you get out of a virtual environment. And then to create a new one, you're going to run the conda create, and then you have to give it a name, so which is used by the -n. And then let's give this a name because we already have comfy. Let's just say comfy tut. Now it's going to be setting up that virtual environment. And then once we have it, it's going to ask if you want to proceed. You can go press yes. It runs really fast. Then we run the conda activate comfy tut. Great. Now this isn't when I list it. I already have it cloned, but for the sake of this purposes, as if it's new, we're going to clone it, and then let's just say comfy tut for the output. This is the GitHub link. I will have it linked in the description as well. And then once you run the git clone command, it's going to take a little bit. This is a very big project, so it'll take a little bit. Oh, wow. That's pretty fast. So now we cd into that folder where we have the project that we cloned. And then to start it, we're going to run the Python command. First, we need to install dependencies. So looking at the ComfyUI documentation, what first needs to install, if you have a NVIDIA, you're going to run this command here. And I would suggest that in the GitHub, it'll have the setup instructions. But I would suggest they use the PyTorch nightly instead of the PyTorch stable, because PyTorch nightly is going to have more support. It's easier supported, and when I use the stable PyTorch, I actually ran into a couple problems. So it's going to try to install it. And then you can run either the pip command or the conda command. So if I paste that back in and change from conda into conda install. Oh shit. Actually, sorry. You could just run the pip install. So you just run this command here. Okay, and it seems it already has it. And then the rest we have to install the dependencies, which are in the requirements.txt file right here. So we're going to run conda install -r requirements.txt. Shit, my bad. Pip install -r requirements.txt. Okay, just going to make sure that we have everything. And it seems we do. And let me see. Conda install python pip. Because you might need to install pip like this. This is this. Oh well. Now we can run it with the python main.py, and it's going to start it. So here it will list out your VRAM for your graphics card, and you can see that has the 2070. And then you can access it on localhost 8188. However, for mine, because it's running on a remote server, not on my physical computer that I have right here, what I need to do is I need to do the -- host and then do 0.0.0 to say that to broadcast, or not host, sorry. Listed 0.0.0, and then this is going to broadcast it. So I can access it from my web browser not being on the computer itself. And like my previous tutorial, what you need to make sure is that 8188, the TCP port, is allowed. If it's not allowed, then you won't be able to access it. And yeah, let me quickly switch to the GUI. Now here I am on ComfyUI, so I have it accessed from the 192.168.1.3.8188. Oh fuck. Okay, now I have the default ComfyUI, so this is what it's going to look like when you first start it. By the way, this is a template, and you can access templates here under Workflow, Browse Templates, and they have 4. So for example, image to image, 2-pass upscale. So the 2-pass upscale will take a blurry image and then make it more sharp. I don't know what this is. And this one is kind of like image generation, but on top of the prompt, the text prompt, you also input an input image. But we're focusing on image generation, so we can select that, and this is what it's going to look like at first. So you have, these are called nodes, and you have different nodes to corresponding to different things. So here is your load checkpoint, which I will explain in 1 second. Your positive and negative prompt, which you can see linked here, the conditioning. So this basically says the positive prompt is what you want. Okay, I want this, 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 this. The negative prompt is what I don't want. I don't want this or this. And then K-sampler, here is where all the magic actually happens. This is what's actually doing the diffusing. And here you have the seed. So the seed sets for the randomization, because inherently it has to use some randomness, but to have a predictable level of randomness, you have a seed. But after each generation, by default, it's going to randomize. But if you set it to fixed, the seed's always going to stay the same. And so generally speaking, what your output is going to be the exact same if you run 2 different queues. So at the bottom here, this button right here, this is how you actually run what we call your workflow. So I'm going to set this back to the randomize. Here are the steps. So your steps here are how many times it's going to try to refine itself. Most models suggest 20 to 30. The more steps you have, the longer it'll take. Not by long, but it will take a bit longer. This, I don't know what it is. I'm not an expert in anything, by the way. This I don't know, nor do I know this. But what I'll show you next, which is Civet AI, where you can get these checkpoint models. They typically have in their description what is the recommended sampler. But generally speaking, it seems most of them will be under Euler. Euler is probably one of the best ones, it seems. And then here is your image. So here are the dimensions you can describe. So you can make it bigger, smaller. So by default, it's a 512 by 512, which will run at about maybe 4 gigabytes of VRAM. For me, I'm able to run a 2048 by 2048, but it does lose some precision when it's diffusing. It can't do smaller squares. So for example, if we were say 1 grid, instead of trying to diffuse 1 grid, because the image is so big and I run out of VRAM, is going to try diffusing at a larger scale. You lose a bit of that precision. To me, that isn't really noticeable that for a 2048 by 2048, but I have a sufficient card, 8 gigs of VRAM, to run a 1024 by 1024 image without having that almost, in a sense, grouping of tiles. And then here it's going to decode, because this basically just comes out of numbers. So it's going to decode, and it's going to take in the what do we call it? It's going to take in this. I don't know what this stands for, by the way, but just know that it connects here. And then it'll output an image, and then you can save the image, which will save locally onto the computer with this prefix. But actually, I'm going to remove it. So to access the menu, you just want to right-click. You can access some properties of it. You could change the size of it right here with the rescale, so you can make it bigger or smaller. But I'm just going to remove it here. And then in order to add a node, you can access it from the node library, which is on the left here. Or what I typically use is to right-click, add node, and then under what I want. So because I want to preview the image, I don't want to save it. I'm just going to run image and then preview image. Now let's actually resize this so it's bigger, so we can actually see what we're generating. And then here we're just going to link it by left clicking and dragging it. So now what happens is after it decodes, it's going to pass out that image into this preview right here. Now, let me show you where to get models. So here we are at civitai.com. This is where you're going to end up getting a lot of your models and what we call checkpoints, or what I'll explain next, which are LoRAs. And then here you can also see like people submitting their own. Like if you look at it, you can see what they used. So like for example, what checkpoint they used. So maybe you can look at this for some inspiration. So we want to go to the models tab here. Now I would suggest that you create an account. It's completely free because some of these models require payment, or not payment, sorry, are locked behind. In order to download, you need an account. And then here are your checkpoints. So you want to take a look here. So you have your checkpoint, and then you also have your LoRA. Now, to describe the differences between the two, a checkpoint is kind of in a sense where you start at. You're starting at this point, and then LoRAs are refinement, things that you can use to refine the image in order to match, say, a certain style. So, looking at these most popular ones, I do use Noob AI, but this one does require me to log in, and you can see a bunch of different ones. And then you can see kind of examples of how it will look like. If it's a LoRA, then it's going to almost in a sense refine it. So we can start with, let's say we start at, let's use obsession. So here is your checkpoint. You can see the downloads here, the reviews of it, and you can see actually the size of it. Oh shoot, reload. Okay. You can see the model size, and generally speaking, the model size is going to take up how much VRAM you have. My 2070 has 8 GB of VRAM, so this will be just fine. You can download it right here, and then here you can see, for example, these. It tells you the prompt and the negative prompt, and yeah, here are the different versions. So we're going to download it. So we're going to copy this address because again, I'm operating in a virtual environment, or sorry, not virtual environment, a server, so I don't have the GUI. But if you downloaded it, you can just download it from here and then drag it to where it needs to go. And you can, let me open up my terminal. Okay, let me switch the view. Okay, here we are in my terminal again. Let me zoom in. So let me SSH into my local server. .3. Okay, and then let's activate my virtual environment, Comfy Tut. Then we want to CD into Comfy Tut. Now here's where you're going to place models. So you're going to CD into models here. This is where you can put all different kinds of models depending on its purpose. So because we just have a checkpoint, we want to go into checkpoints. So CD checkpoints. Then in here we're going to put our checkpoints. Now for the image or for the checkpoint I just downloaded, or I will download, is I run this command here, where I take the URL and then I output, which I think is the -o, to, let's say, the name, which is obsession.safetensors. So this is going to be your extension for all your models. Will be safetensors. Oats. So yeah, this one seems to be locked behind an account. Now you can use it by using SCP. So in the meantime right now, let me find a different model that we can use that doesn't require this one. Oh, you have to purchase this one. I'm not purchasing anything. Yeah, so let's look at a popular one. This one seems popular, and this one's really small at only 2 GB. So wget-o for the output, and this is koji.safetensor. Okay, now it's actually downloading here. It's going to take a while. I can't wget with the O. Okay, it's whatever. So it's going to take a second. Yeah, in the meantime, I'm just going to be right back. Okay, it seems it has downloaded. So now we have the download, and my mistake, the -o for output doesn't work, or it's not the correct one, so it doesn't matter. I can just rename it. So I just do this. Let's say koji.safesensors, and now it's named that. So let me switch back to the ComfyUI. So I'm going to switch here. Okay, so now we have this. This is our default setup. So I'm going to reload. You need to reload for the new ones to show up. And then when you click on the checkpoint name, you can see right here. Now, here are some negative prompts. I think the default ones are good, but you can add like low quality, for example. You want to make sure it's high quality. And for the name, let's say like red hair. No, let's try to describe my avatar. So that's white hair, red eyes, like wit, small nose, pale skin. So after I have my positive and negative prompt, here's the seed, here's the randomized stats. I would generally turn it up a little bit. Euler is probably going to be your most default, but I would check with the page, the page with the model, because typically it's going to have the recommended settings. This one did not, so it's whatever. Typically this is going to be fine, and then now we can run it. So we're going to press Q. So it first loads the checkpoint into memory. Because it's such a small one, it's very quick to do that. For a larger one, it takes a bit longer to load it, but after it's loaded into memory, then you don't have to load it again, and it will go straight to the case sampling. So here you can see at the progress bar of how much it's getting done. And now it's going to get decoded. And there we go. So this is what it looks like. There's completely random. Nobody by a single human. Now typically, I mean, for me, I like just a single person. So like if we could use like Cello. So this in a sense is called prompt engineering. It's where you engineer the prompt to get specifically what you want. I'm not necessarily good at it, but I know a couple things. And I'll show you some websites that I believe are useful. Number one is the Civit AI website themselves. They typically, on image uploads, they have the prompt that was associated with it as well as the model. So yeah, let's see how it turns out. It looks pretty nice, right? The resolution's a bit low, so you can turn up the resolution. So let's say 24 or 2048. So it's going to be double wide. So it's going to take longer, obviously. The bigger the image, the longer it's going to take. And then I would suggest, for if you want actual good examples of prompts, you could use, for example, any Buru site. So you have Dan Buru, Safe Buru, Gel Buru. I'm not going to talk about that one. Under those, typically you have the prompts, and then once you have the prompts, you're able to replicate it, because most of these models are trained on these images on these websites. So after this one generation, I'll show you an example of where you'll find the prompts. So it's going to take a while because I did a 2048. Just 1024 for the next one, so it won't take as long. So, oh my god, this is slow. Come on, hurry up. Oh yeah, and then the scroll wheels to zoom in and zoom out. If you zoom out enough, you won't see any of the details, because you can have very complex workflows, and you'll probably find them online. You can import workflows here. I just use the defaults because they're actually pretty nice, and I'm not too much of an AI fanatic. So yeah, you can see like it's ultra wide. Okay, let me get out. Okay, so here is Dan Buru. It's one of the safe for work ones. And you can generally look, these are obviously drawn by people, and I don't condone stealing artwork. But if you click on one, you can see on the left side, here are your tags. The artist, you don't need that for your prompt, obviously, or the copyright. Copyright, maybe. Some models come with knowledge on what certain characters are supposed to look like, but I would focus on the general. So if we copy this, right, or if we write all of this, we should get an image about the same character. So let me switch back, and now I'm back here. So I'm going to put this in the positive prompt, everything that we just copied. And now we have to clean up, which is removing this, and prompts or tags are going to be separated with commas. So let's do that. It's going to take a while, so I'm going to speed up the video. Okay, finally, we cleaned up the prompt, so it's going to look just the adjectives that we want to describe it. The negative prompt, it matters to somewhat, but I mean, you don't need to focus so much on it. What's going to be more important is your positive prompt. Now let's run it. So we're going to press Q. And you can see it, now it's running much faster. That way, lower the image size. Now it's not going to match one-to-one because the art style is completely different. And then these encode style. And what I'm going to show next is how to change the style. So as this is going, we're going to see that it's going to look pretty similar to that character. It should. See? Does it look exactly the same? No. Obviously, the style choices are different. The colors are slightly different. But you can see it tried its best. And it looks pretty nice. Now, obviously, this is weird. There's 3 arms, which is why I would also suggest on any prompt you add like 10 fingers, 2 arms, right? And you don't want 3 arms or 15 fingers. Like, you don't want this stuff, right? So we're going to add that there. Let's see if it generates it better. And then now I'm going to show how to make stylistic changes. Who's texting me? Okay, this is going to finish up right here. And oh my god, it made 4. This is the most annoying part, right? Human anatomy. So if we delete this, actually, perhaps it will just show up normal. Like, oh, you can also add this in native prompt, like bad anatomy. If you add that, typically it's going to not make ridiculous shit like this, where there's 4 fucking arms. So actually, let me stop the current run and redo it, because I really want to show after how to make stylistic choices or stylistic changes to a model, which are called LoRAs. LoRAs are going to refine your model into, in a sense, matching a specific style, or it might be able to add stuff. So, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whatever. Maybe my prompting is bad. Maybe I should get rid of this. 15, 3 arms. But I've been yapping too much. So let me show you where to find checkpoints. Or sorry, LoRAs. Now here I am back on the Civil website. And if I go to, what am I looking at this person? If I go to models here, you can also filter in the top right. Then what we want is just LoRAs. So we're gonna press that. And let's say, what are the styles you want? Like, I don't know. Let's say like this style, because it's very contrasty to what we usually have. Now, LoRAs are very small files. This one's only 100 megabytes, so it shouldn't take that long to download. But I'm going to copy the link address, and I'm going to save it into my terminal. So let me switch to my terminal. Okay. And instead of putting it in checkpoints, guess what? You have a dedicated folder called LoRAs, and here it's going to be the exact same. So we're going to download the image. Okay, it was really quick. Oh shit, I had an error. So this one is basically saying that it's a protected, meaning you have to log in, and I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna pick something else. This one looks nice. You obviously can't see it, but it'll show up after. I'm going to download here. I'm gonna double get it, and this one's also protected. Goodness gracious. Where are ones that are free, that are not so stupid shit like this that locks it behind an account? See, this is why I suggest making an account. Sometimes it's necessary. So actually, we're gonna download the original one that I showed, and then I'm gonna show you how SCP works, which is copying. So, which is gonna be this one. Download it. So if I go back to my terminal here, So let me exit out. So I'm gonna print the working directory here so I know where to put it. And I'm gonna cd into my downloads. Now here it should be located. I'm going to check my Google Chrome. Yep, it's downloaded. So we're gonna run the scp command, which stands for ssh copy. When we want to copy, which is this one, right? It's under the safe tensors here. And now we're gonna type where we want it to output to. So it's going to be, first we would need to connect to the server. 192.168.1.3, and then using the colon, now you just specify the location. So it would be /home/fleet/comfy/model/LoRAs. Running this command is going to ask me for my password, and now it's going to copy across. This takes a bit of time. It shouldn't be too long. It's like 10 seconds. But this is also limited based on your network speed, your local network speed, that is. Great. Now we can SSH backlink. And then let's cd the comfy tut and the models LoRAs, and here it should be there. Okay. Now let's switch back to my browser. Here, and let me switch to the window. Cool. So now here. Now we're gonna use the exact same prompt. Right, this is what the original image looks like, and then now we have to add a LoRa. So how we do that is we're going to go to our model library or right click, add node. It should be under loaders, and then you're gonna put load LoRa. So we need to break some of these. So what's gonna happen is the model is going to instead be linked to here, and then instead of here, because ultimately this model is going to be linked there. And then it basically sits in between. So you're gonna, I believe it's load the clip here. Then these clips get here. Yeah. These clips get matched here. So this one and this one. This is gonna go here, and then this will then go into your positive and negative. And then now comes the model. The model links to the K sampler here. So what's gonna happen is it's gonna load it here. It's gonna go, then it's going to load the LoRa, which will change this model in terms of how it's gonna look. And then let's use the one that we just downloaded. So not safe temps. Oh, right, I forgot to reload the page. So I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna reload the page. Now, it should be in here, good. And then here's gonna change the strength, so how much it influences. We're just gonna keep it at 1. I've always just kept it at 1. And now this should be the correct workflow. So now let's see what it's gonna look like. So again, these are really small models, so it's gonna load into memory very quick. They don't require that much more VRAM to use. And let's wait. So it's just stylistically look very different. Oh my goodness. Did I do it wrong? Hold on. Okay, I don't know why, but now it seems to kind of be working. I completely created a different workflow, even though it's practically the same. I adjusted some parameters. But you see here, we load the model, then we put it into the LoRa. We had the exact same prompt. We have no negative prompt in this case, so there's our empty Latin image. This is unnecessary. This is the same. I lowered the CFG, so it seems that lowering the CFG makes it more similar to this. I did increase the strength of the model too. Now if I make it 10, let's see. Let's keep it at 4, because originally at 8 it seems to be in a sense more like the original. I don't know. I'm not an expert by any means. This is just me yapping about what I know, which is very little. AI is such a changing thing. So yeah, it seems, I mean, it looks different now, right? Stylistically, it looks different. I mean, we can see it if I delete the node. Maybe this was the problem. I didn't delete this. So if I delete these connections here, basically it's going to isolate. So I'm going to move this up. I'm going to delete this. And then if we load in the model straight to the model and then the clip to the clip. And then here's the, here's the negative, which is literally empty, but whatever. But again, let's see how different it's gonna look. I didn't change anything else. So let's see if it's actually stylistically different. Now, it should be noted that on the documentation pages, they have suggested base models that you should use for LoRAs, it'll say recommended resources. Yeah, so I guess it looks less sharp. Maybe it doesn't only works, but this is gonna be the general workflow. It's worked for me in the past, that I described earlier, but yeah, I don't know. I guess you let me know. You experiment with it. Okay, so this video has come not long. It's probably gonna be shorter after I edit it, but yeah. Sorry for the yapping, and not knowing everything about it, but that's what I know. The checkpoint should work. I would look more at the model description on Civit AI, because there it has, quote, recommended resources, which will say what base model you should use for it to have the best effect. Other than that, I have nothing else more to say. The Go episode will be coming soon. And yeah, I plan to make more also AI videos, probably with OpenWebUI, but we'll see. All right, well, you have a good one. Have a good day.